Blog Talk Radio.
The funeral is about to begin, sir.
The calling hours.
When there's no more room in hell, the dead will walk here.
They will say that I have shed innocent blood. What's blood for, if not for shedding? Kill all
another episode of the Calling Hours Horror Podcast on Horror Society Radio. This is your host, the Dead Man, Michael Jones, bringing you the best in indie and mainstream horror that I can find out there. I hope everyone is having a good evening, as we are going to have what I believe is going to be a pretty high-octane show. Tonight's featured guests are going to be actress Asta Paredes, actor Clay von Carlowitz, got to make sure I say that right, and let us not forget, a late edition, actor Zach Amico, are all going to be on this evening from 8:30 to 9:30 to talk about their roles in Troma Entertainment's return to Nuke Em High. We're going to ask them a little bit about what it was like to work with Lloyd, and we'll talk about other things that are going on in their careers as well, but the primary focus this evening will be a very Troma-tastic episode. And hopefully, Uncle Lloyd's out there listening. Uncle Lloyd, we'd still love to have you on the show. I could talk Troma with you all day, but we are going to talk about Lloyd's masterpiece, is how I'm going to put it. In our indie spotlight coming up in about 10 minutes, we are going to have Jason West of Vultra Video come on. He's also going to tell us about a little event he has going on in Syracuse that's going to involve Fred Vogel and Toe Tag Pictures. I don't want to give all that away. I am definitely going to let Jason tell us all about that. We are also going to be reviewing Scream Factory's Blu-ray DVD release of The Neanderthal Man, which was one half of the two-disc set that included The Beast of Hollow Mountain. So we're going to cover some old-school horror on Blu-ray. We're also going to be covering one of the genre's newer entries from Anchor Bay Entertainment. We are going to be doing a review of In Fear. We are also going to have our Metal Blade Spotlight for the evening. We have 4 songs picked out for the evening. Hopefully we will get to all 4. So we have Jason coming on in 9 minutes, and I think we need to do one of our DVD reviews, ladies and gentlemen. I think it's time for Digital Dismemberment.
Digital Dismemberment.
Well, one of this week's new releases comes to our friends once again from Anchor Bay Entertainment. We are going to be covering the Blu-ray edition of In Fear. And just to give you a little bit of background info on the film, it came out on March 11th on Blu-ray. It's available on VOD and DVD from Anchor Bay Films. There are some exclusive theatrical engagements that began on March 7th. Unfortunately, there were none here in Raleigh, North Carolina, so I did not have the tremendous delight of being able to see the film in theaters. However, I will have to say that the Blu-ray really brings something interesting to the table. Just to give you a little bit more background information, In Fear is a tense psychological horror about a young couple's fight to make it through the night. Home invasion, but in a car, in real time. Tom, played by Ian Castecker, I hope I said that right. He's in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. You also have Alice Englert from Beautiful Creatures in the film, are trapped in a maze of country roads with only their vehicle for protection, terrorized by an unseen tormentor hell-bent on exploiting their worst fears. Driving, lost, and tormented in the night, primal fears of the dark and the unknown give way to fear that you have let the evil in, or that it is already there. You know, it's really an interesting film. You know, a lot of times when you have the slasher killer coming after you, it's in the woods, it's in a house, it's in a haunted location. You know, there are so many variations on that, but this is the first time I can ever really remember where the horror film, I'd say a good 80 to 85% of the film takes place in the car. And when you initially think of that concept, you're like, there's no way you can do something that terrifying, that frightening in that type of a space, but actually you can. Ian and Alice's characters, Tom and Lucy, you know, they met a few weeks before. They're going on a trip to go hang out with some friends. They stop at a pub, and there's an incident at the pub. And they follow someone out to where they're supposed to be going, and they wind up being separated from their friends. And they wind up driving along all of these back roads in the woods, following signs to get to this location. Well, as it turns out, someone's, changed the signs around. They've been driving in circles. They're completely lost. No cell phone service. The GPS isn't working right. The map's kind of incomplete. So everything that can kind of go wrong has gone wrong. Well, they keep driving around. It's rainy, and then strange things start to happen. They stop the car. Tom gets out to use the bathroom. Lucy thinks someone's touched her. She hears the car door slam. All kinds of weird things. She thinks she sees someone in the distance. And, they finally stop for a minute, and she's actually snatched out of the car. So at this point, Tom believes that there is something going on. He manages to grab her. They get back in the car, and they're going down the road, and they hit somebody in the road. And, this guy, winds up having a pretty bad cut on his head, and he tells them how he's been jumped and how he's trying to get away, so on and so forth. And spoiler alert, is as the twist, he's the one that's been doing it the whole time, and he's been very elaborate in how he sets everything up. He torments Tom and makes him drive 80 miles an hour down the road excuse me, claiming to hold Lucy at knife point, and he manipulates him. And then he's like, I don't know why you didn't just stop on the brakes. You probably could have killed me. I never had a knife. And he laughs, and he gets out of the car. Well, Tom goes after him, and there's a physical altercation, and it winds up that the guy winds up breaking Tom's arm. So Lucy gets him in the car, and they head out. Excuse me, I'm sorry about that. They head out, and he winds up chasing them down, and he winds up getting Tom. And Lucy goes to escape even further, and she finds the location where they were supposed to meet and found out it was a setup the whole time. And she goes to escape, and he kind of tries to run her off the road and then disappears. She pulls over, and she looks in the trunk, and he had managed to stash Tom's body in the trunk and asphyxiate him by hooking a hose up to the exhaust. So in essence, he makes Lucy kill Tom. So we cut to the next day, and Lucy is on her way out, and standing in the middle of the road is this guy. She's at a standstill, and she sees him, and he sees her, and he just kind of holds his arms out and waves her on. She stomps the accelerator, and just as she's about to hit him, the movie ends. It's not going to be everyone's cup of tea. If you're looking for something that's got a ton of gore, a ton of blood, this is not your movie. This movie is definitely much more of a psychological thriller. There are a lot of elements of mental torture, the way that the whole process breaks down. It's actually kind of amazing to, it's so claustrophobic, I guess. There's no other way to put it. Like I said, the thought is, a lot of times with slashers or psychological thrillers or something like that, yes, you're trapped in a location, but it's usually a house or it's the woods. You're confined to somewhere where you can really move around and get away from it. The hysterical part of it is this guy's managed to keep himself around them and in the car to torment them, and for a while making them believe that he was a victim as well. So, kudos goes for the whole setup. At the end, would I have liked to have seen Lucy hit him? Is it set up for a sequel? I don't know. Time will tell. I think it was very well done. Everything, the acting is absolutely fantastic. I'm glad Anchor Bay picked it up. It is on Blu-ray. The special features has a behind the scenes where you get to talk. You hear a lot more from the actors and some of the cast, the other cast and crew, and it's really a nice bonus to add to the disc. So, as far as buying it, yes, I would recommend buying the film. I think it's a great snapshot of what this director can do. I'm impressed, again, with the acting talent. Anchor Bay's put together a film that looks amazing. And, again, that's another thing is considering the location, the quality, even with the night shots and things like that. So I would give this movie a 7 out of 10. It's highly enjoyable. Again, I like mine bloody. I like them gory. This one was not, but it was still an excellent film and put together in a way that was extremely entertaining and a unique idea. Like I said, I'm very interested to see if there would be a sequel, if it would continue along this same path. So head on over to anchorbay.com. You can order a copy on there. I'll have to check and see if there's availability for it on Apple or anything like that. I would certainly find that to be entertaining and do it that way. Or you can go to your local retailer and get on board with that and ask them to order it, or hopefully they would have it in the store. So make sure and do that, and make sure and tell them that the Dead Man sent you. But coming up now, we are going to have our Indie Spotlight. And in our Indie Spotlight, we have Jason West. And Jason's done a couple of things. I'm pretty interested to talk to him. Jason, of course, is Vulture Video, and he has something pretty big coming up in Syracuse. Jason, are you there?
Yep, I'm here.
Hey, man, how's it going?
Not bad. How are you doing?
I'm good. Well, which one do you want to talk about first? Do you want to talk about Vulture Video, or do you want to talk about your event in Syracuse?
I mean, I guess we could start off with a bang, and I can announce what I told you about earlier.
Please do.
Okay. Well, first off, I really appreciate you having me on.
Oh, absolutely.
I've been doing this for a little over 2 years now, and this will be my second release of the year. I haven't publicly announced it yet, but I will be doing Ryan Nicholson's Collar a month and a week before it actually debuts on DVD, and it'll probably be even longer by the time they ship the DVDs out or whatnot, but being able to premiere something before anyone else sees it's quite a big deal. And also, Ryan Nicholson will be at Slaughtered in Syracuse coming up here, so it's a great tie-in to have him as well. So I'm pretty excited about that. So
excellent. Well, we got a couple of ways we can go with this, but let me ask a couple of these things in order. First of all, how did Vulture Video become to be? What motivated you to come up and say, this is what I want to do, this is what I'm doing?
Well, originally, it started out with me and my best friend. At the time, we wanted to make films. Actually shot a really bad fake trailer called The Fumigator. That's on YouTube for anyone who hasn't seen it yet. But we wanted to try to avoid Kickstarter, Indiegogo, and try to do things our own way So we came up with the idea that we would start doing VHS releases to fund all of our, movies and put all the money towards filming and gear and sound equipment and everything. We didn't really expect to do that many releases, but it kind of took off, and eventually me and Dave kind of had a falling out last year. We're good friends again, and he still designs all my cover art and everything like that, but he was the filmmaker aspect of it. I didn't know anything about film, so instead, I just continued on with the VHS releases to keep Vulture going, I guess. So
now let me ask you this. Why did you decide to do VHS? I don't think it's a bad choice. I'm a little bit older. I'm 38, so when I started watching stuff, of course, it was on VHS, and then there was Laserdisc, and you can move up from there.
Right.
But VHS has had such a resurgence in the collector's market, and you're starting to see more and more films released, to VHS collector's editions now. Why do you think that is, and why did you choose VHS as your format?
I got a lot of inspiration from a lot of things. I had been a big VHS collector before that. There's other companies that I really enjoy that were just getting into it. I kind of wanted to see if I could do it, and I've always wanted to own my own horror, anything company, and it started off with only a couple of us doing it. There's a ton of people that are doing it now. There's a bunch of different VHS companies, and when I first started off, there's a VHS Collectors Unite page on Facebook, and there was only 1,200 of us on there, and now there's 6,000-7,000 people on there, and everyone's catching in, and everyone's wanting to buy VHS again now. So it's definitely helping out a little with a resurgence of stuff like that. So
let me ask you this: why do you think that is? And I'm not saying this to be condescending, but a lot of the market today, of course, are, like I said, people my age and older. But a lot of the market now is kids who probably never saw a VCR in their house. You get what I'm saying? Why do you think the popularity and the surge of VHS has come back like it has?
There's a lot of bigger companies like Mondo that are doing VHS releases, and I think the more, they've got VHS themed movies out now, there's VHS stuff on cartoons coming back now. I don't know, I attribute it to nostalgia. There's tons of vinyl collectors out there. They have record store day every year, So, I just think that personally VHS looks better on the shelf. There's a lot of craft factor to it that brings back a lot of memories. It's being able to hold a big clamshell in your hand as opposed to a tiny DVD that can break when you step on it. I'm sure a VHS would too, but I don't know.
No, trust me, I'm with you. At the height of my collection, I had almost 600 VHS tapes.
Right.
So I perfectly understand that, and I do think it adds something to the collections and stuff. I'm a fond. I fondly remember when Anchor Bay used to put out the really nice VHS sets, like when they did the Halloween.
Definitely.
Double clamshell.
I'm always trying to convert people who are DVD buyers into the VHS market. It's a struggle every now and then because you're obviously going to get the people who don't understand and want the Blu-ray quality of everything, but it's
that's true.
Definitely.
There is the nostalgia factor.
Yeah.
Well, let me run into this then. You mentioned the Slaughter in Syracuse coming up. Why don't you tell everyone about what's going on with that and who some of your guests are going to be?
Well, this originally started off with me wanting to bring a single guest in. I run an event every year called the Horror and Sci-Fi Garage Sale. This is the 4th year that I've done it now. It's always a free event. It's always a day where people can pretty much pay for a table for next to nothing, because I know when you go to these big-time conventions, you're paying like $300 plus.
A day.
So I started it off originally because I was one of the people who didn't have money to sell stuff at a convention. I had a ton of stuff that I wanted to sell at the time.
Sure.
Again, I've always kept it free. It's family oriented. I always do kid bags for kids and whatnot, but I've always wanted to bring in a guest. And I approached Ryan Nicholson this year, who is the director of Gutterballs and Famine and Live Feed. Hopefully some people have seen his movies, but and because Ryan agreed to it, I just did a release 2 days ago, Marcus Coach's first film, Bad Blood. I ended up asking Marcus, who lives in Florida, if he'd be interested in coming up, and it pretty much spawned from that. And, last year Ruby LaRocca and Jimmy Screamer Claus were both supposed to come up, but they're both on the bill this year. Marcus Coach, who did 100 Tears, Bad Blood, and Rot. Fred Vogel is headlining the event. August Underground, Redstone Power. Him and Shelby are both going to be there. Adam Albrand, the director of Crossbear, is going to be there. Ryan Nicholson is premiering the North American release of Collar. It won't be shown at any other festival at the time. And we also have the world premiere of his short film that's going to be included in the Profane exhibit that has been talked about for 3 years now about getting released. We're going to have the premiere of his short film from that movie at the festival as well. We're also debuting the first premiere of Marcus's 100 Tears extended cut at the festival, which will later be released by Unearthed. So right off the bat, Fred Vogel, Shelby Vogel, Ryan Nicholson, Adam Albrand, Marcus Coach, Matt Garrett, who's a newer director. He just released Morris County. This will be, we're kind of playing it off as a tribute to the past 12 years of independent cinema, all the way from Fred up to Matt Garrett now. So we've got 7 directors. They're all coming down. They're going to show they're going to show their movie. They're going to do a live Q&A after the film. And just recently we announced that we're going to be showing Jim Van Bever's short Gator Green as well. Plus we have a couple other surprises that we haven't announced. And I kind of want to give a heads up to Beneath the Underground and Nick, who is the owner of Beneath the Underground, because none of this stuff would be possible if it wasn't for the help that he's been giving me. So we're both pretty much doing this event together. So yeah, awesome. It's gonna be awesome. It's only $20 for 10+ hours worth of movies. They're on sale at Brown Paper Bags, Slaughter in Syracuse for $20, and if you buy a ticket, first 20 people who buy a ticket get a Vulture screen print. They get autographs from everyone at the festival, so it's going to be fun.
Well, cool, man. Before you head out, do you want to give everyone website addresses and stuff like that where they can come check you out?
Yeah, I don't currently have a website for Vulture anymore. I'm just on Facebook, Vulture Video on Facebook. I have a group for Vulture Video on Facebook. And both of the events for the Horror and Sci-Fi Garage Sale and Slaughter in Syracuse you can find right on the page there. So, yeah.
Very nice. Well, man, thank you for coming on. Just to let everyone know, there is a post up on Horror Society right now about the Slaughter in Syracuse. There's a link so that you can go get your tickets. Go check out this great independent event. Make sure and say hi to Fred to me, because in May I get the man behind toe tag pictures on my slab here in the Calling Hours Horror Podcast, and it's all thanks to my new friend Jason West out at Vulture Video. Jason, Thanks for being on. If you ever want to be on again, just hit me up, man, and we'll get you on the show.
Really appreciate it, man. Thanks.
Anytime, man. Talk to you soon.
All right, see ya.
And once again, everybody, that was Jason West from Vulture Video on to talk about Slaughter in Syracuse and the VHS releases from Vulture Video. Coming up in about 6 minutes, we are going to have our main interview with Asta Maria Paredes. We're also going to have on with her Clay von Carlowitz. Exact Amico, all from Return to Nuke Em High, Volume 1. So, before we get into that, we're going to have our first Metal Blade Spotlight song for the evening. The song is from the Black Dahlia Murders. The name of the CD is Ever Black, and the song is In Hell Is Where She Waits for Me.
I shall
Welcome back to the Calling Hours Horror Podcast on Horror Society Radio. That was the Black Dahlia Murders. The CD was Ever Black, and the name of the song was In Hell Is Where She Waits for Me. Make sure to head over to metalblade.com, and we'll give more info on that coming up here shortly. But now, ladies and gentlemen, is the time. We have our guests with us, Asta Maria Paredes. We have Clay von Carlowitz, and we have Zach Amico, all from the new stunning Troma blockbuster, Return to Nuke Em High Volume 1. How's everyone doing tonight?
Great.
I think you mean
We're doing excellent.
not Troma blockbuster. I think you mean ballbuster.
Ballbuster, you know what? Any of those descriptions work as far as I'm concerned. Yeah, this is a real excitement for me, being a fan of Troma films for as long as I can remember. It's really exciting to actually be able to have people who were in a Troma film on the show. There are so many questions. So this is, feel free to jump in, answer. I'll ask direct questions. But pretty much in general for all of you, what the hell was it really like working on a Troma film?
Asta, you want to go first?
Whoever wants
sure.
to go first.
Yeah, well, it's like it's organized chaos. I mean, Lloyd, people will, they'll question what he's doing, what the mayhem is of working on a Troma feature, but I think at the end of the day, it's just a bunch of young energy, tired for the work, like hungry for the work, just working and having fun and just being fierce because you haven't had any sleep and, you can't do anything else. You have to go all the way. You can't be anything lower than volume 11, basically. It's a lot of fun, and I loved working on set with people. There were days where we really could have gone to bed earlier, but we would stay up all night talking about film, about what we were doing, and it's like Christmas Eve, like every day, but obviously
right.
with blood and guts and Lloyd yelling and all sorts of stuff.
And Santa's 5'5" and Jewish.
Exactly. Well, night 5 in Hanukkah. We'll say that. But yeah, it's amazing. It's just like it's an anxious energy. It's obviously a punk energy. It's crazy. Like I said, organized chaos.
They hired the most hardcore people they could get their hands on to do this movie, and that was kind of inspiring in its own way because constantly people were working on something, whether it was the people involved in the art direction or special effects, or if it were the actors having to be on set. But even when we weren't called and stuff, but I mean, I remember somebody from the cast recently posted something about how some of the actors would just go and wander around on their own time and, do whatever they wanted to. But I was thinking, well, that wasn't really the case. I don't know, speaking for myself, I was always working on my character. And there was that kind of expectation, that you would always be trying to come up with something better and to bring something else to the table. And so but it was easier to maintain the energy because everyone else around you was just as into it.
This is Zach. I played Zach in the movie. I was a Troma intern for 3 years prior to working on the movie, and I can just explain it to it was like being in terror firmers, except none of the girls that wanted to hook up with you were any that hot.
Well, it's funny you bring up Terra Firma. I wanted to do that. In that movie, Lloyd makes a big, I don't know if you want to call it a joke. In the film, he makes a big deal out of his rules to making a movie, which are, safety to others, safety to yourself, make a good film.
Safety to humans.
Be good to humans. That's right. Is it really like that on a Troma set? Is that how Lloyd conducts a shoot?
Oh,
yeah,
they're so
if you're
adamant
worried.
about that.
Yeah, I mean,
everywhere.
anytime people seem like physical harm was going to happen to you, Lloyd would stop. Anything that seemed dangerous, you'd stop. But at the same time, people were so Zach, you can attest to this. Like, we would be like, no, we can do it, you know, like, you just wanted to keep going. Like, you didn't want to be, like, babied. So, you know.
A real thing about Lloyd is we would have, like, these 14, 16-hour days. Lloyd will never let anybody on set see him eat or sleep. So pretty much he led by example in that if this 67-year-old asshole can go all day without taking a break, then you better be able to, too, or you can't cut the mustard.
Exactly.
I mean, I can see that. You know, it was entertaining watching the behind-the-scenes on the Blu-ray and, you know, the things that you guys went through, and we'll get to a lot of that in a minute. But what I wanted to ask each one of you, and it may seem like a repetitive question, but, you know, Asta, you played Chrissy in the film. You know, what was it about the role of Chrissy that drew you to it? And, you know, how much did Lloyd allow you to make the character your own?
Well, actually what drew me to it and what draws me to, like, most roles in general is playing characters that, like, I can kind of create more. And I am a sucker for wanting to play stronger female roles. Just the fact that I have to say stronger female is kind of annoying in this day and age. But, yeah, they described her in a casting notice as Chrissy, attractive, not so innocent, like tough girl, like some nudity required. And I was intrigued because I was like, oh, okay, what kind of movie is this? And when I got into the casting process, Lloyd had insisted at some point, otherwise I wouldn't have come up, that I had to audition for also the Lauren character. So I actually had to, like, do auditions with cretins and stuff where I had to do, like, you know, the duck and mouth scene. And I was, like, so adamant that, like, I really wanted to play this other character. But they had in mind someone that was more, how do you say, butch, and, like, with a mohawk and a flannel and fingerless gloves and stuff. Actually, I have some of the original sides that I had to read for auditions that describe her that way. And eventually, like, I had a heart-to-heart with the casting people, and I told them it was really important to me to play a character that wasn't so much a stereotype and was more, like, she was tough, but she had, like, something about her that was different. And also, I grew up in Texas, and I had a Lauren that was sort of a Lauren of my own, I guess, and I don't look like a mohawk butch with fingerless gloves, so I wanted to kind of play out that story, I guess, in a way, in a Troma way. So they let me do it, and Lloyd let me create the character, and then he would concede things like, oh, she's a big fan of Troma, though, because we want to put Troma things. And I was like, yeah, she loves the Toxic Avenger, of course. Or, oh, she needs to wear short shorts and crop tops. Sure, yeah, but they'll have Toxic Avenger stuff. Like, we would bounce off stuff, and at the end of the day, it was all compromise. But Lloyd lets you do whatever you want as long as you're passionate about it. Because if you can stand up for it, then he doesn't have to explain it to you. So.
Excellent. Yeah. Clay, how about for you? You know, you have the role of Eugene in the film. What attracted you to the film? And, you know, because the character certainly comes across a little bit more over the top than some of the other characters do. How much of that was your own invention, and how much of that was Lloyd egging you on?
Well, so when I was cast as the role of Eugene, or when I was finally given the sides, because I was auditioning for Cretins for a while to play this character, initially he was written as like a typical dumb jock, and I think they just wanted to have like an alpha male boyfriend who was like kind of into himself, and in no way did they really, like, the script kind of suggests that he was like, he lacked self-confidence or something. It was almost as if like he was like one of those assholes. And I remember thinking like I could never, I don't know, I can never completely relate to that. And so I thought that I would in a way instead play it so that I was trying to be one of those assholes, and I was trying to be seen as like a tough guy, and as like somebody who was cool and desirable, and then I just thought, like, because it's like it's Troma, and it sort of suggests like
a world of zany characters, I thought that I would just go for it and take it to the extreme, because my character like really wasn't like it was a kind of a two-scene character, and so I spent a lot of time writing in my notebook coming up with this character. And I mean, in a way, he like comes across as like just this idiot. But I don't know. I was like watching it again recently, and I was thinking like, well, yeah, I guess he does stuff that maybe is idiotic like to everybody else. But in a way, it's him like constantly trying to do something that will gain him acceptance and that will win people over, and it doesn't ever work. And it's like, I don't know, imagine if some of the stuff he tried like did work and people thought he was the coolest guy. Like, that would be awesome. But it doesn't happen like that. And then like to answer your question about Lloyd egging me on, I mean, well, he would like throw things at me, and like he would like have people do stuff that would suggest that they reject Eugene, or he came up with the whole like chick with the dick thing. And so it was on me to kind of react to that. And then I was building this character into like something of a legendary character, in that like he thought of himself as like somebody who was really cool. He was trying to invent himself as this legend. And I don't know. My brother visited recently, and like I noticed that he has a tendency to constantly tell jokes, and I did that too a lot in high school. Like, try to be a funny guy, try to like win people over by being like I don't know, loud and proud about how crazy you were and stuff. But like it never results in people thinking he's awesome. And yet like, I don't know. It's with each time he's shot down, he gets back up again, and yet it's broken up with moments where he isn't like loud or crazy, but he's sort of just commenting on the action around him, which is like, I don't know, where you see him like, I don't know, kind of like thinking about, well, could he behave a little bit differently? And I don't know. At the end of the day, though, I mean, he functions as a fool in the movie, and I'm happy people find him funny.
Right. Now, Zach, it may have been different. I don't know. You had mentioned that you had been an intern for Troma for 3 years before this. What led to you getting your role as Zach? And, having been an assistant on set, I've worked on several films myself as an effects artist and things like that. I see the production assistants running around and just all the massive craziness. Did you prefer being an intern to acting? What did you think about finally stepping in front of the camera?
Well, I was really trying to channel a lot of the people you meet working at Troma, which is, the social misfits and the outcasts and, other people that can't get laid, so they gravitate towards Troma. But it was a weird, because I was originally brought on as second AD, and I kind of took on more an extra wrangler role. So every day with a ton of people, that was more my responsibility. And the weirdest days were the days that I had to be in it and then also be, helping Lloyd direct people and get people to different spots and then try to stay in character. But luckily my character is so cartoony and dumb that it didn't take a whole lot of preparation. I was kind of just a cartoon version of myself in high school.
Now, how was it though? Like I said, for being an intern to actually, being on screen and doing all that. Was it always
It was like the cool. I mean, it's to take a page out of Shawn Michaels' book. I mean, it was the boyhood dream. I grew up when I was 12 years old. I got The Toxic Avenger on VHS, and I was obsessed with Troma ever since then. I would go to Killer Theater and Fangoria and all these conventions every few months to go see Troma stuff. And I literally, my room now, I don't know if it has as much Troma stuff as it had when I was growing up. Troma was my life. So to get to go and give back in a weird way, or be part of that legacy. Because that's what Troma is. It's fan-funded. We had people come from all over the world to come work on the movie or have bit parts or, even raise money for that duck on our Duck Starter, which we raised money for Kevin the Duck on the Internet from Troma fans. So I did feel like I got to have the ultimate fan experience, half the time I felt like a Make-A-Wish kid, like I couldn't believe it was all really happening.
Well, since you went ahead and brought up Kevin, let's talk about Kevin the Wonder Duck for a minute.
Asshole. Diva. What a diva.
Kind of tell us about how the whole concept of Kevin the Duck came up, and how was Kevin on set?
Kevin, basically, they had to do a duck starter campaign to. You could say it was a talk between Lloyd and Michael Hers, and Michael was like, if you want to do it, we're not paying for it. So if the fans want it, then you can do it. And it comes from, Lloyd has a hierarchy of animals that are funny, because they have either something messed up with them or Lloyd just finds them funny. The first being chickens, second being ducks, and the third being donkeys. And and also in this particular case, there's a theme with the duck. Obviously, there's the duck rape, but ducks in general, they rape each other. That's how they are made. They continuously evolve to have these Barbie and by Barb I don't mean the doll. I mean the dildo attachment with barbs and spiral and all sorts of crazy shit. It's the weirdest stuff I've ever seen. But he wanted to show I guess how people can be forced into a situation and then something good comes from it, maybe. Like Chrissy and Lauren's relationship. But Catherine and I, who plays Lauren, had to do a lot with doing the duck starter campaign, and they had to raise all this money to pay for 3 ducks because they can't be alone. And they have to have a trainer, and they have to have their own little house and stuff for one day
have a
on
union
set.
Too.
Yeah,
Ducks have a union too.
Yeah, and but for one day of shooting with them, $10,000 to fly them out, to do all this stuff. Anyway, but I've been telling people, they got paid so much more than everybody else. So where's their career right now? So.
Yeah, it looks like they're not all they're quacked up to be.
Exactly.
Here we go. Well, now, I find this to be an interesting aspect to the whole thing with Return to Nuke Em High. Lloyd's been doing this for 40 years. His span of films has been, you could touch on just about every genre. Class of Nuke Em High, the first one, was, of course, one of the cornerstones of Troma industry, the whole Troma industry. That's one of those films I think that's right there with, the Toxic Avenger. I like Sergeant Kabuki Man, NYPD. Stuff like that.
Oh, you're the one.
Oh yes, it's my fault that people still order that. But what I've always found interesting about Lloyd is he always found a way to go counterculture and go against the grain, yet still put out a product that people wanted. And I could be mistaken in my Troma history, but I believe this is the first time that Lloyd's ever, if you want to call it a remake or a reimagining of a film, much less one of his own films. How do you guys, from a historical standpoint, feel about being in the reimaging of a Troma cornerstone film?
I think it's an incredible honor because Lloyd has always been known for being relevant with his movies and finding a way to comment on the times, even if it is in a particularly offensive, on-the-nose manner. And in the case of this movie, I mean, it's the age of the remake. People are going back to things that used to work or things that are tried and true, rather than just come up with something new, whether it be due to the economy or just lack of originality. But he found this framework that still works to this day, and yet there are legions of new fans, people who grew up with this stuff, and then people in Brooklyn, where we just showed our movie at Nighthawk, who like it because of the nostalgia factor. And
sure.
And so in a way it has this crossover appeal. I would argue that this movie is somehow the most mainstream movie that Troma's come up with.
Yeah.
I mean, that's hard to argue.
It's also which will be revealed, I suppose, in Volume 2, but it's not so much a remake as it is like a continuance, but it is a reimagining in the fact that like epic stories will have like a turnover time where people will, in the line of like the story of the Cost of Nuke Em High, there's going to be like a torch that will be grabbed again and then redone.
Sure.
I mean, some people love it, some people hate it, but like the latest Evil Dead movie like has argued we are not a remake, we are in the same universe. Army of Darkness will be in the same universe, like the newest one.
Right.
And it's all the same idea, but like the themes are there. And, with the most current Evil Dead, they play on addiction as a major theme. And you could take it as not a horror movie and just take it as a story about addiction and family dynamic. With this, we're using this opportunity to play like the bold themes from the original, although it's in a reimagining of the fact that this time you get to see the Cretans become Cretans. Like, you don't see that in the original. This time you get to see them fall in love.
Yeah, exactly, which is a huge difference. And one of the strengths of the movie is it's two people who find each other, whereas the other one, it was just a standard high school couple. But in this one, it's like, I don't know, I thought that was cool of Lloyd to, like, allow that, a love story, especially between two women, to take place and not like not necessarily like a crass way at all. It's kind of heartfelt, and so it's like I don't know. Lloyd let a lot of things like blossom. He let people take their characters where they wanted to, and there was a kind of heart to this movie with this cast. That something clicked with everybody, and I think, I don't know, Lloyd had a feeling like that was going on, and he never really stood in our way, like Asta said towards the beginning of the interview. Like, if you're really, if you know what you're doing, like he encourages you. He lets you run with it.
Right.
I think to touch on what they just said, I think actually the relationship between Chrissy and Lauren, played by Asta and Katie, I think it's the most genuine love Lloyd's put on film since Romeo and Juliet. And another thing that movie has in common with our movie is I think it's this very young, exuberant, excited, very talented cast of really good actors who kind of knew what they were getting into. And
right.
It really comes across that. And I think this movie does have that same punk rock energy that Romeo and Juliet had, where everyone is really, really genuine. And I think that was both sides of the camera. Everybody in front of the camera, all the actors, we were very genuine about wanting to do a good job and make a great movie. And then everybody putting it together, all the ADs, all the people that came from all over the world to work on it, were all huge fans of Troma, and we were trying to make the best movie we possibly could and break boundaries and go a little farther and make the most of what we had. So I think there are a lot of comparisons between what we did and what they did in the 90s with Romeo and Juliet.
Mm-hmm.
If that's hyping myself up.
I certainly wouldn't argue that. I mean, I would certainly agree. In terms of character depth, and it goes a lot, it goes a lot towards, after your acting, and is, not only your acting, but, Catherine's, and again, everyone in the film. Lloyd, in my opinion, you can go as far back as you want. Lloyd's films have always, I think, women have always been, in a lot of ways, portrayed in a fairer sense in Troma films than in most mainstream films, and Lloyd's been very progressive about how he portrays both male and female characters. Mm-hmm. And agreeing with the point that I think a lot of the power in the film is the relationship between the two female leads. Asta, and I think I'd sent you questions about this before, but how was it when I had interviewed you in the past for some of the features on Horror Society? I think I had asked you about this, but how were you guys able to show that that almost true feeling of emotional commitment between the characters, and Lloyd making them such powerful characters?
Well, we actually had a brilliant audition process and a brilliant set of circumstances for our lives. I was at a point where I had been doing theater for a bit, had been living in New York and was deciding to do comedy, but then realized I wanted to try it for film, and I kind of was like, whatever it's going to be, I want it to be like, you know, schlocktastic, cult classic, sci-fi, that kind of thing. And so I was ready for anything, basically, at that point in my life. And so was Catherine, and we waded through audition rooms where we would be in these waiting rooms and go 1 by 1 or 2 by 2 reading sides, and we'd be surrounded by a lot of very different kinds of girls, some who were just kind of not the Troma world or not relaxed, so to speak, and we gravitated towards each other, and we actually became really good friends. And that chemistry read when we walked into the audition room together. And so we auditioned for the period of a month and a half. We had 9 callbacks. And after the first callback, we became Facebook friends, and we would message each other and ask if you had moved on to the next one. We just assumed. And it would be difficult because every now and then we would switch off characters, and we knew what the dynamic was. And, you know, so we had this, like, very unique friendship, but also, like, we learned from each other. You know, she is 5 years younger than me, so there were things I could teach her. I was a little hardened by life, so our characters were, like, the caricatures of ourselves. And we also... I don't even know if they really cared and did it on purpose per se, but like in the funeral home where we lived, like Katie and I, we slept on the floor, but we slept in our own, like, we had our own room, and we each had our own air mattress thing, and we shared a room. So we would check in with each other every day, and so it was like this genuine, like, connection and care for each other that Troma helped us foster by noticing it in the waiting room for an audition. You know, they noticed, oh, these people have a chemistry, and, you know, to this day, no one will ever understand what I went through on set the way that Katie does, and vice versa. She, you know, we wanted to set a precedence. We didn't want to, like, just do nudity just to do nudity. We wanted to own it. We did, like, so much research, and we would talk about which actresses that we admire had done that kind of thing, so we always have each other's backs, and I think that's a big part of it. I mean, the dance scene is something that people always point out to Katie and I as something that they love about the movie, and that was genuinely, like, the two of us doing one take with the director of photography because he threw an idea like, let's just make it a fun music video. And it was our second day on set, and we were having so much fun. And, I mean, it was like Troma captured an essence of a really fun time in my life. So.
Now, something as I look on your guys' IMDb page, you guys have a lot of films that you've all worked on together, but something that kind of goes hand in hand with Return to Nuke Em High is Pollution Nerds. Can you kind of tell us, can you guys tell us about your experiences with that and how all of that tied into Return to Nuke Em High?
That's all I have to say.
Pollution Nerds, these two lovely gentlemen humored me in doing a secret viral series based on the adventures of Christy prior to the events of Return to Nuke Em High. So as an acting exercise, I actually did the blog that the character has in the movie. And I wanted to just trace back steps and just have this viral web series. And when I told Lloyd about it before we went on set, he was like, keep doing it, keep doing that. Like, it'll be an Easter egg, da-da-da. And Zach did an amazing food review thing, and we shot, like, a bunch of different webisodes and stuff. And I still get emails to this day from people all over the world, like, thinking that I'm an actual teenage girl in this, like, godforsaken town called Tromaville, New Jersey.
You have to understand that, like, after we did this movie, we were still reeling with the energy and the exhilaration from doing this movie, and we were still, like, feeling our characters, and it was like, in a way, it was a way to channel all of that energy, and it was cool because, like, we got to invent a story that is sort of a prequel to the events of Nuke Em High, and it was fun because, like, when we were on set, we would all be doing stuff like constantly that didn't necessarily even make it on camera or into the final film because like we were all in at 100%, and this web series is like just shows you a little bit more behind the curtain, so to speak. And yeah, that Zach was awesome too because I don't know, he and my character like had this like friendship that we invented on the set, but like it wasn't really seen in the movie. It wasn't really shot that way, but it was really a blast to kind of live that out, even in a couple of webisodes. I don't know, Zach, did you have a good time?
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. We got to hang out on a roof. There was a dog that we didn't want there. It was that was.
They
all
had it all.
Asta,
You had a roof and a dog. All you needed is a camera, and you're good to go.
Yeah, and Asta's a very creative, ambitious person, and it was really cool to get to just hang out and do more stuff.
Yeah. Now, you said that you guys had worked on it a little bit before as an actor's exercise, and Asta, you had mentioned how you brought it up to Lloyd. All of you have mentioned that if you know what you're doing, or you show what you're doing, Lloyd kind of lets you run with a little bit. Was he really surprised that you guys went into that kind of depth before Return to Nuke Em High?
Well, what I loved about telling Lloyd anything, because for instance, when I read the very first copy of the script, that was an audition, by the way. Katie and I read the script in front of him while he watched to see our reaction. It was like an audition, and it was like he had basically placed these two actresses that he considered talented and everything, and then just was like, they're going to leave. Like, he was just waiting for you to leave. And, there's this beautiful, like, sometimes self-deprecating quality to Lloyd that is just like, expecting to be rejected, but he's so genuinely surprised when people are passionate and care. Like, all of us have gone to several states, cities, countries to go to screenings with Lloyd, and on our own dollar or on the back of a bus, and he's always genuinely shocked that we show up. And it's when I suggested this to him, or any of my ideas on set, his face would always be like, "Oh, you're actually doing extra." Like, I'm like, yeah. He's and he has his adorable ways of showing affection, like, buying us a round of drinks, or one night Katie and I had a really rough day, and he had to drive us back home because pretty much all the PAs had gone back home, and he offered to buy us milkshakes at Denny's. Like, he was like, "You guys want to go to Denny's?" And I was like, "It's 2 a.m, but thank you."
You never say no to Denny's with Lloyd Kaufman at 2 a.m.
Oh, I should have said yes.
The only thing that would be better is if you went to a Waffle House.
Oh my God,
a gluten-free Waffle House.
Yes, a gluten-free one.
That's absolutely crazy. So you guys, of course, there's a Return to Nuke Em High Volume 2. And I know you can't give away too much. I'm not asking for spoilers or anything, but of course, Asta, your character is going to be a main focus, but how much more are we going to see in the evolution of your guys' characters? And is there going to be a Return to Nuke Em High Volume 3?
You're going to see a lot of me.
I'm going to go Harrison
You're going to see a lot of me.
Yeah, Volume 2 is, as what, Zach, if it's okay if I take this, you said Volume 2 inches?
2.5 inches.
Yeah.
3.5 inches. It's Zach's debut.
2.5 inches.
But no, in Troma, we are equal opportunity when it comes to nudity, so you will be seeing featured male nudity, and it'll be in a very, actually, it'll be like a recalling to a certain scene in a certain major Troma catalog film, Toxic Avenger. Why it will come up. I don't know. Volume 2, like I said, will reveal that it's not quite a remake as much as it is a continuance or a reboot. And it's gonna, like, you know, anybody that gets scared away by Volume 1, stay away from Volume 2, because it's gonna have, like, a lot of monsters, a lot of gore, a lot of slime, a lot of, you know, tragedy and happiness, and there's dancing. So I mean, it's going to be epic. And
Volume
I'm
1
really
is a movie. Volume 2 is a fever dream. Volume 2 is every weird thing.
Yeah, there's a lot of weird shit in Volume 2. Like, he goes even more off the wall than he did in this movie. Like, they saved the best for last, for sure. And they see all the arcs, every single arc, all the way through to the end. Everybody gets their due. Sometimes they have a happy ending. Sometimes they don't have a happy ending. But in a way,
everybody
like,
gets
it makes sense. Yes.
Exactly.
Well, since you guys had brought it up, you know, going to, you know, different conventions, different states, different countries, kind of each one of you kind of give me an idea of what is it like when you go in to represent Troma at a film festival or a convention, no matter where you're at in the world.
Troma fans are the most loyal, loving, constant fans. They really appreciate this movie, and like, even though like they haven't even seen any of us before this movie, like it's amazing like how reverent they are, and when they see the callbacks to other Troma movies, like, you know, the big car flip, they just burst into cheers, and like, Lloyd has been great though being there at these places, because he will always present the cast. Like, he defers the attention because he's trying to like help us with our careers, like trying to build us up, because he's just trying to pave the way for the next artists. So.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
How about for you, Zach?
It's absolutely nuts. It's so cool getting to go to be on the other, because like I said, you know, I'm the kind of kid that I go to horror conventions, and I am a diehard fan, and it's weird to be on the other side of the table and, you know, watch the people milling around. I will say, when you do sit at a horror convention for the whole 3 days, you do really notice a lot of people with physical ailments. I don't know what that means, but awful lot of assisted mobility. But it's really cool. I mean, we got to take them. I mean, we got to do some of the craziest, most prestigious stuff with our weird lesbian monster green taco movie. We got to screen at the Museum of Modern Art in the Contender series with Wolf of Wall Street and Inside Llewyn Davis. And, you know, we sold out a 400-seat theater at the Museum of Modern Art. We went to the Cannes Film Festival. It was just, by the way, we shot a sequel to All the Love You Can out there. If anybody's ever seen the Troma documentary, All the Love You Can, we shot Occupy Can.
And we're going to get to that one in a second. Yeah, we're going to get to that in a second.
It's the coolest thing in the world.
Yeah.
Asta, how about for you?
I feel like a rock star, basically. I mean, every time I go to one of these things, like, there's like, you know, there's Troma merch and stuff, and then there's pictures of me, like, with a Troma bikini, you know, like, and people are asking me to sign it, and they're, like, shocked that I'm there. And, you know, we'll go, like, Clay and I, we went to Seattle, and we're still, like, think we're normal people sometimes, I think, but, like, I'm there, and I'm like, I'm kind of thirsty, and I kind of mumble that to Clay, and then, like, 5 seconds later, someone hands me a water bottle. And then another person says, "Oh, can I get you some chocolate? Do you need anything?" And I'm like, "Oh, no, I'm good. Like, thanks." And we got like free popcorn from the theater showing our movie, and they asked me like, "How many free seats do I need?" And I was like, "Oh, I actually bought tickets for my family and stuff." But and you know, like, it's just funny because like I guess I'm glad, but I'm not letting it really get to my head. You know, I'm trying to enjoy it, but at Nighthawk, you know, they were nice enough to hook us up with some drinks, and you know,
and for Yonkers, the draft house, the Alamo draft house was amazing.
Really?
Yeah, and they were wonderful, and so yeah, it's cool, but it's funny because like I'll like sit through a screening with a bunch of the fans, and then afterwards, like a bunch of people will just stare at me like, I just saw you naked. And then they'll just look at me for a very long time, and there's like this aftershock. And then after like 20 minutes, if they're still there, they'll come up to me and they'll be like, you did a really good job in the movie, or you're hot, or like in Seattle, my mom was in the audience, and they all went up to my mom and was like, your daughter's a babe. Like, it's just a really weird experience.
I'm sorry I did that. I didn't know what else to say to her.
Oh,
so that was you, huh? Well, you know,
yeah.
I'm very honest.
Yeah.
Well, you know, I guess it is what it is. Sometimes you can't shy away from it.
Yeah, I don't mind it.
No, please go ahead.
No, it's just it's a thrill. It's kind of funny. It's kind of like, you know, people walk in and they think that they can handle it, but like for instance, something that has bothered me in some of the more like, I don't know, prudish reviews, is people saying like how much nudity there is in this film, and there really isn't that much. And I actually
not compared to past Troma movies. No, I agree with you.
No. And what's actually funny about it is I asked this fan like out of frustration one day because like he was talking to me about it, and I said like, dude, why is it that people think there's so much more nudity in this film than like, I don't know, Nymphomaniac or anything else? And he said, you know, the reason is because, like, you and Catherine have, like, really nice tits, and we feel like we should have had to take you out for dinner. We should have had to take you out for a dinner, so it's like we're seeing tits we're really not supposed to see, maybe for more than, like, a second at a fitting room, and, like, we're seeing it for, like, longer than that, and, like, you guys are, like, you know, you guys got Oscar tits, and we're not supposed to see Oscar tits. And I was like, okay. Thank you.
Oscar died and it was really nice tits.
My God.
I was like, well, that's the explanation. Apparently we have, like, you know, superior breasts, and so therefore, like, you know, people are overwhelmed, I guess. And
hey,
I'll take
it is what it is sometimes. Now, you got go ahead. Okay, huh? I was going to ask you, Occupied Cans got brought up. You know, kind of tell us about your experiences with that, and you know, Troma over the years, I felt like has had to fight for its respect. You know, what did it mean for you guys to be a part of that project, and you know, to go to Cannes to have your work shown?
It was awesome. We went there and we were basically ambassadors for independent arts, and we had to parade on the street every day, and dancing and singing the Nuke Em High theme song, and passing out flyers and explaining what the state of independent cinema was today as a result of media consolidation, and like people were turned on by this. Some people were like, you know, with scowl and stuff, but a lot of people were intrigued, you know, because of this freak show, and then they'd come up and talk to us, and then they'd realize that we actually were there for a reason, and it was like, there's nothing violent about it at all. It was like we were there to like celebrate our movie, and the fact that like in our own way we were each like kind of freaks, and then just to see that like people start to think about how they've lost touch with the idea of what independent art really is. And I think it was a great way to start the big tour for this movie. And I mean, like Asta could tell you more about that, just because she got one of our she got this guy at Seats who ended up giving us one of the best reviews we've had.
Yeah,
Fred
Topple. Fred Topple, this amazing reviewer who writes for Crave Online, Fanboys TV. We were parading one day, and we were like in this weird kind of break period where we didn't have time to go back and change. So we were just parading nonsensically, singing nonstop. And actually, at that point, Harvey Weinstein actually walked past us and smiled. And
he smiled.
He a glorious moment. this guy was like, when's this movie showing? And I was like, oh, it's showing, like, I think it was like 4 o'clock that day. And he said he had to go see another film, but he may get out just in time, but, like, he wants to get a seat. And so I went up to him and I was like, what's your name? And he said Fred. And I said, and I introduced him to Justin Martell, and which is our production manager. And they coordinated. And when I went into the theater to introduce the film with Lloyd and the cast, like, the guy looked at me and was like, I got in. And I was like, awesome. And then, lo and behold, a couple days later, this glowing review comes out of the film, basically saying, like, how refreshing it was. And it was from a genre fan perspective. And that that started, like, a snowballing of, like, legit critics, like, not being afraid to say nice things, basically, about Troma. So that was pretty amazing. And to this day, like, he's a good friend of mine. And, I mean, that's the fun thing about working on the Troma film and then being reviewed, is, like, you'll get Troma hardcore fans and Troma, you know, fans that are from, like, more legit circles, and they all like, you become friends because you're all film fans. You know, you're all film buffs. If you can appreciate Troma films, you appreciate film in general. You appreciate, you know, ultimate satire and, you know, establishments and, you know. But as far as Cannes goes, like, I think, you know, Zach has, like, the cake when it comes to being the international superstar here.
Yeah, Ron McKay told me that I needed to ask Zach about that.
Yeah, I was kind of responsible for being let's say bringing the freak show element. The second we got to Cannes, people were excited. I wasn't even, like, ready to start promoting yet, and I was just wearing one of my Toxie shirts, and people were coming up to me at the airport to ask, oh, is Troma here this year? Because Troma, people don't realize, was a staple of the Cannes Film Festival for decades. People were excited to see us at events and, you know, parading up and down the street, and Troma hadn't been there in a very long time. So they were so refreshed to see, you know, our circus, because people tried to do it, but they didn't have the manpower. They didn't have 20, 30 people who were so willing and dedicated for a cause. So we got to do all this crazy stuff, and I am let's call me the shameless one. So on the second day we were there, I streaked the Great Gatsby premiere.
Oh my God!
Because I have no fear and no shame, and I streaked the Great Gatsby premiere on Swedish television. Who actually, I think they were doing something else, but they knew I was going to get naked, so it wasn't like I jumped in another broadcast. And I actually have friends in Sweden from when I was in my old band who called me that night to tell me that I was just naked on the news. And so it was you know, a carnival, and it was crazy, and I got to do all sorts of, we got to go hang out at the bar. There was people, you know, making multi-million-dollar deals, and, you know, I'm outside of the bar with my wang out yelling, come see Return to Nuke 'Em High tomorrow. It was great because Troma really proves that you can level the playing field immediately if you have the guts. And that's what Troma's always been. It's the punk rock of cinema. And, you know, Lloyd Kaufman might be the most punk rock guy that ever lived, and he's just helping more and more people live their dream. Because, you know, he could have made this entire movie when, you know, Starz Media came to him and said, we want to make a Return to Nuke 'Em High, a new class Nuke 'Em High. He could have said, cool, I'll take a check for that. And instead he made it, and he made it the best movie he could be. Because Lloyd Kaufman, you know, are we allowed to curse on this? I have been the entire time.
Keep going, man. Don't stop.
Lloyd Kaufman's the most, you know, punk rock son of a bitch that ever lived. And he let us do all this, and, you know, he lets us do crazy stuff, and he's just entertained and excited as we are, and it never gets old.
Now, I realize this may sound like a biased question, but I'm asking this legitimately. You know, like I said, Troma's been around for 40 years. Lloyd's been doing what he's been doing this entire time. And, you know, he's never really wavered from his morals, from his code. He has been independent art, and he has always done whatever the hell he has wanted to do. And, you know, I salute the man for it. You know, not only do we have a magnificent library of films, you look at all of the actors over the years that have been in Troma films. You have the Troma Dance Film Festival. We have you guys at Cannes, you know, at the Cannes Film Festival. Everything that Troma does, not only as an independent and an American film company, but it's basically global now. You know, why has it taken so long, do you think, for Troma to truly start gaining the acceptance that it has? And this is the serious question, and I mean this when I ask it. Why hasn't Lloyd, out of anybody out there in Hollywood, if you look at what he has done in the film industry, why has Lloyd Kaufman never been nominated for a Lifetime Oscar Achievement Award?
Well, you know, the basic thing is he works on non-union films, so out of the union. The other thing is that, you know, I think sometimes, and Lloyd said this so many times before, but sometimes people don't appreciate like fierce art, especially like painted art, film art. They don't appreciate filmmakers until they pass, until they can no longer contribute to the world. And the thing is, I think Lloyd is happier to see, well, maybe not happy, not happy, but maybe he should be, but his impact, Troma's impact, and Lloyd's impact on everything that we see. You can go to a movie store, and you can find about 80% of the films have been inadvertently inspired by Troma. You can look at Nickelodeon, and you can see Troma. You can look at the Ninja Turtles, and you can see Troma. You can see, you know, all the extreme satires and all the, you know, crazy high-action satires. You see Troma. But I think that sometimes people need to be trailblazers, and others just want to copy and just like make he puts a burger output. They just want to see something that is interesting, and then they want to put their brand on it and then just keep selling it. Whereas Lloyd is a perfectionist, you know, and he has the things he wants to do. He likes being part of this niche market, and I don't think he wants to have to play the ball game of Hollywood. You know, like all of us that are actors in the film, whatever we want to do with our careers, we are kind of afforded a choice. You know, we can be actors and play roles and may or may not have to compromise to whatever the mainstream wants, depending on where our careers take us. But as a filmmaker and an auteur and as a visionary, Lloyd wants to have control of that. And the only way to do that is to be part of something that may not be in the main spotlight, because he's taking care of it on its own, you know. And it's too much to ask to compromise. And you know, I think Troma is extremely popular, but people don't even know it. I mean, when I auditioned for this film, I had seen classic Nuke Em High and loved it and had no idea what the word Troma was, you know, and that's my ignorance and naivete. And I look back and I'm like, you know, there's so many movies I love that just ripped off of Troma. You look at Lost and then watch Troma's Lore and you see just blatant rip-offs. So because it's easier to digest for people, you know, people like to dilute Troma, and they put it in the mainstream, and I think, you know, that's why Lloyd hasn't been recognized.
I agree with what Asta says. I think Troma's always been anti-mainstream, and for every insightful thing they've had to say about society, any commentary they have, they undercut it with something crass or something that will shake people up, whether it be like a reference to some kind of topic that people find too taboo, or even just like a fart noise. He doesn't like to get caught up in taking himself way too seriously, because he just doesn't think that that's genuine, and he's never courted the kind of praise that people get at the Academy Awards. He doesn't like to roll with that crowd, and I think that he prefers it that way. He prefers to be a rebel, because that way he better serves his purpose, which is to exist on the fringe and to make cult films so that people, it's almost like it's a doublespeak, you know, like people can flock to Troma movies and they can finally have a place to talk about like the things that are going wrong with the world and the country, and yet like because like if anything's popular or mainstream, like automatically like you question it, like because then it's, well, why is everyone accepting it like this? And Lloyd has always been about questioning the establishment, and so I think it's too jarring for people to accept a man who won't ever speak for the larger masses or try to say something or do something that will be an easy sell or encapsulate everything in such a neat way. He'd rather just poke holes in things and tear them down and get people to think a little bit more. And that way, like, he'll always be ahead. He'll be miles ahead. And he doesn't need the Academy Award. I mean, the New York City Horror Film Festival recently gave him a Lifetime Achievement Award. And that, like, we were just at his house recently, and like it's sitting there like on his mantelpiece, like when you walk in, like he's so proud, like, to be accepted by the genre, by like the underground. That's the way he would have it.
What's your thoughts?
Lloyd's just he's punk rock. Whatever deity of art there is a love seat at its right hand for Lloyd and John Waters.
I would not argue that. I think that's actually very fair. You know, and you know, I didn't mean any disrespect by it. I just feel like Lloyd has given so much to the film industry, you know, and you can argue independent, mainstream, whatever you want, but, you know, there are film, you know, let's not forget, Kevin Costner got his start way back in the day in a Troma film.
Uh-huh.
You know, we can point out other big-name actors and things like that, but it's...
Or entire, you know, genres of film. Look at the Scary Movie franchise. They're essentially, Troma movies. Look at Porky's and that entire genre of film. That is, Lloyd was doing the sexy comedies, your Squeeze Play, Waitress, Stuck on You. Lloyd's always been a pioneer, and Lloyd's always had his finger on the pulse of what people wanted.
And it's absolutely amazing. We're coming to the end of the interview, but we might run a minute or two over. But I wanted to ask you guys, I've been fortunate enough to work in the film industry myself. You know, my biggest thing was I did a direct to DVD. Now I can't remember the name of the company. That is just so bad. I did.
Let's say it rhymes with Pole Poon.
And it was fun to do it and everything, and I'll never trade that experience. But the one thing that I would love to do as a professional is to work on a Troma film, and because you will forever be. Not only is it the love of working in a film, but you'll forever be etched into the iconic background of what independent film is. To each one of you, how much does it mean to be a part of the Troma family?
Well, it's funny because I hinted at it earlier, but like when I had gotten to this point in my life where I was like, I don't know what I want to do. Like I was doing theater and then I was doing comedy and stuff. I actually wrote down a list, and it's very much like a law of attraction style list. And it was like 4 major things I wanted to do. And if I did all of them, I would quit my acting career, because I had done everything. And number 1 on that list was I wanted to be part of a cult classic sci-fi horror type of movie. Like I wanted to be part of like this crazy legacy that if I'm like hanging out at a bar, someone would be like, "Aren't you?" And I'll be like, "Yes, I am." And so being part of like Troma and the Troma legacy and everything is I don't want to say like dream come true because it might sound like not genuine, but it is.
No, I mean I understand that sentiment.
It's like I mean like to be, especially like as a female, like first of all to be playing a female that's like not just like a random love interest or whatever. Like I'm playing like a strong character. I'm on the effing poster, and I'm like looking like a badass, and it's incredible. And I have such a respect for Debbie Rochon, and I have people like putting me in the same sentence as her. She is a badass that has done so many films, and she's so passionate about this industry. And I don't really, I I don't really know what's next for me as far as, like, if I want to continue in this line, but I'll always be proud of this. And I've always, like, been very passionate, like, you know, after a couple drinks at a screening, I'll always go up to Lloyd and be like, I just want to say, you know, I'll never, you know, like, forget about this, and I'll always defend you to women especially, because I think what the Troma experience is for men and women, or gynos, as he puts it, is it is what you make of it, and you own your sexuality, you own yourself, you own your insanity and your fierceness, and when you do all of that, you know, what comes next is up to you. You know, some people will do Troma and they'll never do anything else. But luckily for me, like, Lloyd gave me a confidence that was missing in my life, and I'm not afraid of anything anymore. So, you know.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Zach, how about for you?
You know, I said it a little while earlier. When I was 12 years old, I got The Toxic Avenger on DVD and found my obsession in life. All I've ever wanted to do was, you know, give back to the independent film movement, the cult cinema thing, and especially Troma. Troma has been my obsession my entire life. So to get to be part of that, you know, it is like Make-A-Wish. I can't believe it happened. And then to get to keep doing all these things and meet all these people, now I feel like it's my responsibility to get more people into it and find a new generation of people. And I hope one day that, you know, I can be somebody that they, you know, want to meet and they want to look up to and they can work with. And it's the greatest. This entire experience was incredible. I got to meet, you know, my live-in boyfriend, Vito Trigo, who plays Leonardo the Cretin, my mom, Babette Bombshell, who plays Principal Wesley. You know, I feel like I spent 24 years waiting to meet my family, and I met them on the set of this film, and it's the greatest experience of my life, and I will be forever indebted to fate and to life and to everything else that I got to have this incredible experience. It was the best thing that could ever happen to me.
Awesome. Clay?
I'll always look back on this moment in time as when I found myself again, and once I did, I was not going to turn back. I moved out here because I wanted to pursue a track favorable to the liberal arts school I went to. I wanted to do like really respectable theater and then go to grad school, and I thought like that was the way to do it. And it was a way, I was just not using my imagination, and I think I was just forcing myself to take a certain approach to life. And I remember that tunnel vision kind of destroyed me, and I found myself just inhibiting my creativity because I wanted to be a certain way to impress a certain kind of person. But never did I stop to think, well, I mean, am I happy? Is this making me happy? Would I rather do it another way? And I got at grad school didn't work out, and I was at a point where I was just ready to try anything, and I just wanted to find that kind of that with the point of view of innocence, you know, that you have when you're a kid, and when anything is possible and everything is fresh and great and wonderful, and that led me to Troma, and it started me on this tangent wherein I thought, you know what, I feel great just being in control again, and if that puts me pits me as an indie guy or somebody who doesn't want to play ball with the mainstream the way they want them to, if that sets me back from mainstream success a few years, I don't give a shit. I don't want it any other way because I feel happy, you know, just to have control of myself as a person and as an artist again. And it's with Lloyd, it's you feel well, that is possible, you know. And you don't have to be just like Lloyd. You don't have to be a copy of him. He wants you to be the best version of you, you know. He wants us to go on and do what we want to do with our lives. He's ever encouraging. And it's it's something that I will take with me to every movie set from here on out. And I think he's training, he raises generations of filmmakers and actors to think this way. to have a point of view, and once you have that, like, that's everything, man. So kudos to Lloyd and this wonderful cast. Like Zach said, it's like a family.
Well, guys, I want to thank you so much for coming on. It's been an incredible experience. I truly enjoyed the film. I enjoyed all of your performances. You know, keep doing what you're doing. You know, whether you stay with Troma Films, whether you go on to do other things. You know, you guys really made a great film. It sounds like you had a great life experience as well from making it. You know, hopefully one day I'll either see you guys at a convention or, damn it, if I'm lucky, maybe one day I can make it onto a Troma film. But, again, thank you so much for being on. If you talk to Lloyd, tell him I won't bite his head off. I'd still love to have him on the show. And you guys are always welcome to come onto the show at any time. If you ever have any news about releases you need, man, please let me know.
Thank you so much, Michael. You've been so supportive since the beginning, and I love doing my 2 interviews with you earlier in the year and in the past year. So thank you so much for always supporting Troma.
Of course, guys, and thank you so much for being on.
Cool. Thank you, man.
Take it easy, guys. Once again, we just had our big interview with actress Asta Maria Paredes, actor Clayvon Carlowitz, and actor, Zach Amico, all from Return to Nuke Em High, Troma Entertainment's latest film. Coming up, we're going to have our Blu-ray review of Scream Factory's The Neanderthal Man. But before that, we are going to go into the next song in our Metal Blade Spotlight. This is a brand new song. I just got the notice from Metal Blade the other day. The name of the band is Below. The name of the CD is Across the Dark River. And the song is The Whitechapel Murderer.
the bells are chiming for you, 'cause this is your final day. Roaming the alleys at night, these streets belong to me. The Whitechapel murderer I'm called, who'll be my next sacrifice? Am I a savior or pig? Are you the one to decide? This fateful evening, blood will be shed. I'll be a legend when I take your life. I cut you up, washing away all your fears. I'll take your life, making you free from sin.
Below the skin of history are London's veins. These symbols, the mitre, the pentacle star. Even to someone as ignorant, as degenerate as you, can sense that there's course, energy, and meaning. I am that meaning. I am that energy. One day, men will look back and say that I gave birth to the 20th century.
The alleys lie silent and calm. Dusk is beginning to fall. Senses the fog in the air. It's here, I'm searching my prey. Why cut you up, washing away all your fears? I'll take your life, making you free from sin. From
And welcome back to the Calling Hours Horror Podcast with your host, The Dead Man. That was brand new music from Below. The name of the CD is Across the Dark River, and the name of the song was The Whitechapel Murderer. Saying thank you to our friend Kelly out at Metal Blade. Make sure to head over to www.metalblade.com for more info on Below and this new release. You should be able to purchase it there. Head over to iTunes or to your favorite local retailer to pick up your copy today. I think it's time, once again, for a little bit of digital dismemberment.
Digital dismemberment.
And in this version of digital dismemberment, we are going to be taking a look at Scream Factory's DVD, 2-disc Blu-ray and DVD combo pack of The Neanderthal Man, which was packaged with The Beast of Hollow Mountain, which we talked about last week. Just to give a quick recap, in January of this year, loyal fans were invited to combat the winter chills with a double dose of 50s high camp featuring creature features with Edward Nasor and Ismael Rodriguez's The Beast of Hollow Mountain, and E.A. DuPont's The Neanderthal Man is a double feature 2-disc Blu-ray DVD combo pack that's treated to January 28th. Give you a little bit of background info on the movie. The Neanderthal Man. A mad scientist uses his new serum on his housekeeper, turning her into an ape woman. Like most crazed scientists, he then tries the serum on himself, creating the Neanderthal Man. Starring Robert Shane, Richard Crane, Doris Merrick, Joyce Terry, and Beverly Garland, all star, of course, in this harrowing creature feature. The film was released in 1953. It is a black and white film, about a running time of about 80 minutes. You can draw a lot of parallels to werewolf films, or even Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde with this film. Again, of course, being the 50s, this is not a gore film. You're not going to get a bunch of blood, nudity, or anything like that. Again, one of the things that really struck me about it is the changing sequence. It reminded me a lot of the Wolfman from, earlier, Universal Monsters. You have a doctor who's working on some experimentation, and a giant saber-toothed cat is on the loose in a locale where it should not be. And after several witnesses are discredited for having seen it, it finally kills an animal, which brings it to the attention of other people. As it turns out, the doctor has also done the experiments on his housekeeper and has time-lapsed photos of the changes and the things that it does to her. When the doctor finds out that the big cat is being hunted, he tests the experiment on himself in hopes of being able to show his colleagues and other individuals that his research into the Neanderthal Man is not all just speculation and hocus pocus. Unfortunately, the side effects of the drug do turn him into a Neanderthal-type man, and again, this is where the comparison to the Wolfman comes into play. A little bit of, believe it or not, a hairier version of the Wolfman. As time goes on, he kills two people. It's never said, but it could be implied that a woman was certainly attacked, if not assaulted, by the creature. And at the end of the film, sadly, the good doctor, in his good intentions, is basically mauled to death after killing the giant saber-toothed cat that has been lurking in the area. And sadly, at the end of the film, very similar again to Universal Films' Monsters, you can go back to Frankenstein, the basic implication is made that the doctor meddled in things that he was not supposed to, and this was the end result. In terms of special effects, they're very much standard for their time. Like I said, you're not going to see a lot of blood and gore, even in black and white. The acting was very capable, and of its time frame, it was certainly a little bit of a slower creature feature. It's not a garbage film by any means. Just on the list of where it stands, I'd give it about a 6 in terms of entertainment quality. Again, with a film this older, very similar to The Beast of Hollow Mountain, there were no special features. This was a little bit more of a bargain disc in terms of that. I'm sure it was also hard to find behind-the-scenes special features for a film this old. Once again, though, it does need to be said that for a black and white film, the video quality and transfer is excellent for this. With a lot of black and white films, sometimes you get a lot of miscoloring. A lot of darkness or lightness throughout the print due to print damage. Scream Factory certainly not put a product out that is disturbing to the eyes. And in fact, it is quite amazing how well the print looks. certainly needs to go into your collection. I mean, it's definitely an eclectic two films. The Beast of Hollow Mountain and the Neanderthal Man are certainly not films I had seen before now, but it was enjoyable to go back and watch films from earlier time periods to see how far film has progressed, not only from a sociological standpoint, but also makeup and effects, directing techniques, and things along those lines. You should certainly head over to Scream Factory or ShoutFactory.com, where you can order it on there. You can get it on Amazon. You can also go to your local retailers and pick up your copy today. So, I'd have to say it was a pretty eventful night this evening. In our main interview, and once again, I want to say thank you so much to Zach Amico, Asta Maria Paredes, and Clay von Carlowitz, all who were a part of Troma Entertainment's Return to Nuke Em High Volume 1. They're also finishing up on Return to Nuke Em High Volume 2. Excellent guests. Let us not forget our first guest that was in our Indie Spotlight. To start off the show, we had Jason West from Vultra Video on to talk about not only the VHS tapes that his company puts out, but also the Slaughter in Syracuse, which is coming up. We need to say thank you once again to our friend Tom Chen out at Scream Factory for supplying us with our film for the evening from Scream Factory. And we need to say thank you to our friend Ed Peters out at Anchor Bay for sending us In Fear to Watch. So next week is going to be another great show. Don't want to spoil too much, but we are going to keep it in the Troma family next week. So make sure to tune in as we have someone from the Toxic Avenger I think a lot of people will enjoy talking to. So thank you for listening. Thank you to all of my guests. And as we head out for the evening, of course, we are going to play the last song in our Metal Blade Spotlight for the evening. We are going to listen to Noctum. The name of the CD is Final Sacrifice, and the name of the song is Temple of the Living Dead. And until next week, ladies and gentlemen, rest in peace.